Hi, this is Bobby with Grub Mud Concrete. Today we're coming to you from Brownsburg, Indiana, where we'll be tearing out this little sidewalk and repouring it and showing you guys how we do it. So the first thing we need to do is get the jackhammer out and set up everything. So you'll see me start jackhammering while everybody else is getting the ramp and the wheelbarrows out. We like to use the electric jackhammer and the wheelbarrows and our ramp system. As you can see, he's putting that down now. It beats coming up with a bobcat or some other type of equipment in somebody's yard, especially a wheeled machine, and rutting it all up. It's just better to do it by hand, and it also shows the homeowner that you really want to do the job. We do a lot of things by hand, but it beats messing up somebody's front yard. If you'd like to, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell and you'll get a notification each time we post a new video. It also helps support our channel. I sure would appreciate it. But anyways, like I said, we do a lot of the tear outs by hand. We're not afraid of getting the wheelbarrows out or any other tool. That's what they're made for, is for this type of stuff. But anyway, also, if you would, hit that like button. That would help support us too. Especially if you like this video or like the work that we're doing. You might learn something also. Here they are using the ramp system. It works pretty sweet, really, especially when it's downhill like this. But if you're starting out doing concrete or want to get out on your own, you don't need a jackhammer. You can rent a lot of this stuff. What I do suggest that you have is a truck and a trailer, preferably a dump trailer, but you could have a flat trailer. You do need some sort of a trailer to haul around different things, like a Georgia buggy, or to go get wire for a job site, or anything. It's just nice and handy to have a trailer. And you probably already have the hand tools to finish concrete if you've been doing concrete any length of time. But here you go. Here's how we do our ramp. Put that little lip on it, and then just make sure that it doesn't fall off each and every time. So I'd pretty much do the jackhammering, or one of my other guys do, and then the other guys start forming up or tearing out. We try to keep a fluid system going. You see, you get a little running start. It's pretty simple, really. I mean, as simple as it can be. And that's about as big as pieces we'll ever have right there. We try to keep a couple wheelbarrows just for tear outs, and then have a couple other ones for wheeling concrete. It keeps from some getting beat up, and the ones that we wheel with have two wheels, and they don't break when you throw pieces in them, because we don't use them for that, and they're plastic. You wouldn't want to throw pieces in them. But we're getting this whipped out right here. Just got a couple pieces left. I ran a saw down in between that driveway and that sidewalk to make sure there was no rebar sticking through. Most of the time there won't be, but you never know. So right here, Josh is picking up all the pieces. I'm doing all the breakup, and my dad's wheeling it all. So I found center in between that post and that wall there, and I marked it right there. Then I measured over 1 foot 9 inches each way. That'll give you a 3.5 foot walk. And then I stand back and I look at it before I form anything up, just to see if it's going to go right. Here we got a 1/2 inch lip that the step's it's a 5-inch step, and it's a 1/2 inch lip, so you can see how it goes up like that. Then the next step is to make a mark up and down level on the edges where your sidewalk's going to be and your steps are going to be. You can see I do that right here on each side. And then I put some stakes in behind it, and I screw it up to the right height. And you want to put a 1/4 bubble of fall coming out. That's a general rule of thumb. And you want steps to fall away from the porch. So that's about a 1/4 bubble. It's a little bit more than 2%, and that's about what you want. And then obviously you want to level across your steps and check it. The old saying, measure twice and cut once. I always stand back and I look at things over and over again, and I get down, I look down, and I just make sure things are right. Uh, so we had to compact all the pea gravel, even though it was in there before. But we put some 53s on top. You can see here in a minute. There's the 53s we put on top. What we use for bendy board is actually lap siding. We rip it down to 4 inches, and it bends really well. So got the 5-inch steps with a 2x4 coming out, and then lap siding bending around. So today we're using SRM, Sagamore Ready Mix out of Indianapolis. They're a really reputable company. They have some really good mud. We're using a 4,000 stone air in train straight cement mix with no fly ash. It's a 4,000 psi per square inch, and we're pouring at about a 3.5 slump up here on these steps, and then we'll add some water to it as we go. Another thing we did on this one is we put wire mesh in it, and we rebarred in the steps into the porch so they would never fall, and we also rebarred it into the driveway so it wouldn't fall there. It just is added support. You can use fiber, and we do use fiber a lot, but fiber is considered a secondary reinforcement. A primary reinforcement would be wire or rebar, so we always try to use that, and then we use the microfibers as well. Microfibers are mixed in with the concrete. They're like a bunch of little hairs that just give it added strength. So like I said, we're pouring this about a 3.5 slump, the step, and then we add some water to it. You can see the base is really, really strong, and you'll want to put your wire in. After you shovel your steps, you want to put your wire in so you don't wheel over it with the wheelbarrow. You want to put it in one piece at a time. And then I take a hammer and I hit the sides of the steps a bunch. It's called pecking it. This will help get the air bubbles out of the sides, and it'll be able to make it to where you can rub the faces a lot easier. And I'm the only one here with my boots on. I really didn't need them. I just like to put them on because it's something that I always do usually. So it's kind of a tedious process, but so we got me. I'm a 25-year master finisher. My dad, he's been in concrete business 35 years. Josh, he's been doing concrete about 10 years, and Justin, this is his first year doing concrete, but he's catching on pretty quick. One thing you always want to make sure you do is you want to take a hammer and pull up your wire so it's in about the bottom third of the concrete. If you don't do that, it's pretty much pointless. It just sits on the bottom and it does nothing. Like I said, we're wheelbarrowing this. It's only about 2.5 yards with the steps, so 12 wheelbarrows per yard. You're looking at about maybe 30 wheelbarrows tops. We also got a high performance in this because we wanted it to set up kind of fast. It's high performance. Another term for it's called high early. It makes the concrete cure faster and doesn't weaken it any. So like I said, it's kind of a tedious process, but you'll want to take a hammer and peck all the way around, and you'll see your concrete settling in. And once you get that, you float it off with your float, and then you have one rake guy kind of pushing it up and getting it close, and then I'll take a float each side. Then I'll run down it with the 2x4. And don't forget to add your wire. If you do it like this, it pretty much gets about perfect. You can see we added a little water to this mix. That right there is probably about a 5 slump. That's a good slump. That's going to be really strong as it cures. You can see this is called screeding, what I'm doing here with the board. Basically getting it flat from one 2x4 to the next. So what I go through and I float, and then I screed it. I try not to lose any concrete out the sides. For one, you don't want to waste concrete, but for two, it's less of a cleanup. There I was pulling the wire up a little bit, and there he is too. So you kind of just puddle it up and down, and then you float it, and then you screed right off. One thing I like to do is I'll do anything. I don't ask my guys to do something I wouldn't do. I think you get a lot more respect out of your crew that way. You know, like I'll grab a float, I'll grab a wheelbarrow, I'll grab a jackhammer, I'll grab a sledgehammer. There's nothing I won't do that I'll ask anybody else to do, and there's nothing that I don't know how to do. I can do anything when it comes to concrete. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, if you're gonna have your own concrete company, you need to be able to be a master of doing concrete. You don't want to be a fly-by-night company at all. It's also nice having my dad out there with me, not just because I get to work with my dad. He knows what the heck he's doing, and I'm not always the best leader because I get so focused on what I'm doing, and it's nice to have somebody else helping me lead the crew. So you get a good look right there of us screeding. Then you got to go back through and float it. Quick little float just to close it up. And that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just closing it up. That'll help slow down the curing. Once you get it closed up, the wind doesn't hit it, and it brings the moisture to the top a little bit. I don't know what it is about it, but it like densifies it, and it really slows down the curing time. And then you got to rod around your stakes a little bit. You might have to go back through and do it a little bit more here and there, but if you set your boards in the right spot, it's really not that big a deal. You basically just run your 2x4 on each side, and you just try not to spill any. Obviously, you're going to spill a little bit, but if you keep a float handy, you can kind of push it back as you go, and it's easier on your rake guys too. I don't know. I see some guys on YouTube pumping these little sidewalks, and I guess if I had my own pump, I would. But it's really not very hard to wheelbarrow, especially if you're used to doing it. And I wouldn't spend $1,000 on a pump just to, I try to give the customer a fair price, and for me to charge a pump into the bill, I don't know if I'd get any of these jobs. I don't know. That's just how we do it, and it's how, I'm not saying just because I do it, it's right. I guess if I had a pump and I could pump, bigger rock with it, and not have to pump the little pea gravel stuff, then I probably use a pump. But with the type of mix we like to pour, you can't use one of those little bitty pumps and use this mix with it, because it just clog it up first 5 minutes you're using it. So we like to use the wheelbarrows and the Georgia buggies. It's just something we do in the Midwest. I think it basically has to do with the mix designs though. So you see how I do it. I rod a little bit off, then I'll go back and I'll float it. I don't get too far ahead of myself, because I want to get that closed up and float it off. And it's going downhill pretty good, so you don't really have to worry that much. It's you're getting it pretty close to flat. If it did have a little hump in it per se, you wouldn't even notice it because it's going downhill. So, but the 2x4 eliminates all the humps. So Justin just fell back, and he's floating it off again. Because the first float I put on it, I'm just closing it up. I'm not even trying to finish it at all. So what they do is they fall back. I always have one guy fall back and start finishing it off, and that's what Justin's doing back up there. He's not edging yet. He's just floating it. Concrete's a real timing thing. We like to let it get just a little bit harder when we edge. I'd like to know if you guys use pumps or not for something like this. If you want to, leave a comment and let me know. Be interesting to know if you guys use pumps and what part of the country you're from. So there you see, they both fell back, and Josh is working on the steps, and I'm getting the last little bit of mud in, and Justin's floating her all off. See, Josh is edging that up there just on the steps. And then what we do is we run an edge down both sides, and then we cut it up into 4-foot sections with a joiner. Then we'll broom it, and then we'll put back our what we call a shining, the ribbons on the edges and the joints that go through it. It kind of gives it a picture frame look and a nice clean appearance. And then we'll pull those forms off the faces, and we'll rub those, fill in all the holes, and then we'll brush those. And it's a process, but if you've been doing concrete a little while, it all just comes so natural. There's the joints I've cut in. I use a 2x4 and I put across there, and I run the joiner right through there. And then I cut 2 little ones on the ears. It just helps prevent those from breaking. There's my dad putting the broom on it. And then that's all done right there. You can see how the ribbons shined on the edge and on the joints. And then on the 2 little flares, it's got joints on them too. That way if it cracks right in their joints, hopefully. And it won't look like what it did before. Speaking of what it looked like before, here's a picture of what it looked like before in a video. You can see how with this pond it just looks so nasty. All different levels and cracks in it. And this is the next day after we stripped it. It's starting to cure out and turn white, but it looks just so much better. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, ring that bell, and if you want to, share this video with whoever you would like. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful evening.